First off, this is supposed to be not my schedule. It was switched. If you're looking at your paper schedule, it's a different one, right? But it was changed on the website. So if you're not supposed to be here, I'll give you a chance to go out. Otherwise, you'll be stuck for me for an hour. Okay, about me. Let's talk about me first, right? I work at Fortinet as senior security researcher. I published some articles in Virus Bulletin. If you know that, it's actually I made it a user-friendly malware research, so you can look into those things, and then if you have time, you can read them. And I also wrote some articles in our company blog, blog.fortinet.com. That's the sales pitch. They're gonna kill me here. Okay, those are some of the. I just made some matrix where some of the conferences that I've been to, and mostly my profile looks like that, but deep inside, that's me. Supposed to be Batman, but it feels appropriate with that guy. Anyway, okay, there are different kinds of malware that we can look into, but this one, if you want to analyze millions of malware at the same time, you use the assembly line. If you've been to the other talk earlier, use that and then throw it all, and then you get all your analysis. It can probably make my life easier too, right? I may try to use that assembly line. But for me, this we are going to look into just one sample today, not 1 million. Okay, we're just going to look into the code, how it works, and everything. But first, malware categories. There are different kinds of malware nowadays. Okay, and most likely we heard in the news about ransomware like Bad Rabbit, Petya, and so on and so forth. Now we're going to talk about this ransomware wherein it is not just a ransomware, it is also a file infector, which is a virus. It needs a host file to attach itself to infect. Okay? We're going to look into some of the visible signs of this ransomware. Okay, the reversing stage, how you want to reverse the malware itself. Okay, we try to, of course, if it is a file infector, we try to clean it. So we have to extract the host file. And of course, we're going to look into how it creates actually a on-demand polymorphic algorithm. We'll going to look into that. And if you want to create a metamorphic malware, no, I'm not saying you create a metamorphic malware. We're just going to look into how it creates that engine and then how it is actually generated. We're going to look some of the video demo. I don't usually do live demo. It doesn't really work for me. Okay, so we're going to look some of the video demo how the malware works in Oli debug. I use Oli for debugging. Okay, Virlock is okay. Before we look into Virlock, what is a file infector? A file infector, it needs a host file. For example, your calculator.exe. It needs to attach itself to an executable and put the code there. That is a file infector. Okay, usually it is hard to restore. Normally, if you're infected with a file infector, just reformat your system. No, I'm just kidding. We try to still clean the system. A ransomware, of course, everybody knows ransomware. WannaCry, right? Bad Rabbit, the last one, the Petya. Okay, it tries to hold your computer for ransom. That means you have to pay in Bitcoin to get your system back. But that is not actually a bulletproof. Sometimes you pay in Bitcoin, you still don't have your system back, right? It encrypts files, and of course, you use the Bitcoin for payment. And Virlock is a combination of both. It is a ransomware and a file infector and locks your screen. And deep within, okay, if you use assembly line, you might not be able to see the polymorphic algorithm and metamorphic algorithm. So we try to divert on that system because assembly line, is there somebody from assembly line here? They might kill me here. Okay, don't tell anyone. Okay, it also locks your screen. Virlock as a ransomware. If you're infected with a ransomware, like this, maybe I'm infected, we're done. Okay, long lunch. Okay, if you're infected with a ransomware, the good thing is, unlike other malware, you will know you're infected. Okay, because if you're infected before, malware or Trojan doesn't want you to know that they are stealing your system. But if you're infected with this kind of ransomware, you will see a blank screen first. You will see if you live in Canada, it knows that you are in Canada. It will ask you for, of course, Canadian dollar. But if you're in US, you run this ransomware, it will ask for your USD. It is an old one because it still have the BTC 0.588. Now it is probably, if you want to pay 250 Canadian, it's probably point 0. How much is Bitcoin now? It's like it's crazy, right? And it will look something like that. Okay, it will be look like coming from your RCMP. Okay. The good thing with a ransomware, normally it tries to educate the user. For example, you don't know Bitcoin. It will explain what is Bitcoin because they want you to pay. So it gives you information. And for example, where do you get the Bitcoin? You only have your ATM machine. You can actually go to different places where you can actually change your money, your Canadian money, to Bitcoin. Okay, there is one in Vancouver, okay, downtown. I haven't seen it actually, but I've seen one in Seattle, US. Okay, but the problem is I'm about to took a video shot of the how it pays, but they need your driver's license, so it's not actually anonymous anymore, right? So I didn't do it. Okay, if you don't live in Vancouver, and where's Quebec? Oh, there's Quebec. Okay, if you're infected with this ransomware and you live in Quebec, you live here, you can click this one, and then it will tell you where to change your money. Okay, very educational. Okay, of course, you cannot access your screen because it is locked. So you can only have notepad and of course some network connection, and that's it. Okay. Okay. Don't worry if you're infected with ransomware, you will know. Okay. As a common malware, normally we try to analyze the malware using a debugger, or some other tools, assembly line. We can just send everything and then you will get the information that you want. But if you want to go deeper, okay, you can use Oli debug, immunity debugger, which is almost the same, actually, same features. But this one is you can use Python scripting in order to automate your debugging. And if there is a 64 version of the malware, you can actually just use x64dbg. Okay, it is actually being developed uh, most of the time. It's like they have the daily or weekly updates. Normally, when we try to, okay, assuming this is your executable file, when we try to decrypt or unpack the malware, okay, and then you will be able to get the decrypted version, and then now you can do the IDA static analysis, or you can also still do the dynamic analysis. Okay. Okay, for this one, the reversing stages, at first, when you got your Virlock, you only have the text section and the resource section. Okay, there's like two spaces there. And then when you try at the very end of the executable file, there's this code, the Metamorphic algorithm. That is our focus later on. Okay, when it runs the Metamorphic algorithm, it generates this particular decoded bytes. After generating the decoded bytes, it generates the main function. And then when we have the main function, it now produces the what I call on-demand polymorphic. Why do we call it on-demand polymorphic? Because every time it runs, it will decrypt itself with the original key, and then after executing that particular code, it encrypts back with a different key. That means every time it executes a single function, it will look something like this. It is now different from the original code because it is encrypted now with a new key. Okay? And then execute another on-demand, and then if you put some colors in your virtual memory, okay, it will look like Christmas lights, different colors, different codes compared to the original one. That means every time it infects your files, it will create a different set of codes. That is what I call on-demand polymorphic. As a file infector, let's look at some of the different kinds of file infectors. Okay, we have appending, prepending. That is only how they try to infect your files. Appending is it's coming from, okay, it attaches itself at the bottom of your host file. Prepending is just at the bottom. Cavity is harder to clean because it looks for spaces in your executable and put those codes inside. Overwriting is just overwrite everything. If you have overwriting file infector, you have to reformat your system. Something like this. This is your malware. Appending. This is your host file. Okay. This is the prepending. Cavity, it looks for spaces and so on and so forth. But Virlock is actually, it grabs your host file, encrypt the host file, and put it inside the big Virlock file. Okay. And then this is now your infected file. Okay, I'm going to show you a bit later on which part do you can try to encrypt or decrypt your host file. Okay, extracting the host file from Virlock is kind of a bit, as long as you can find the key, okay, you'll be able to decrypt your host file. It is using a simple XOR, not very complicated. It doesn't use AES or some different cryptographic system. Okay, the host file is actually somewhere here. If you're able to run the Metamorphic algorithm, get the main function, you got all the on-demand, and then after a while, you will be able to get the host file. You don't need to run everything here. You can actually find the host file and then extract it, then you can have your host file back. But if you're infected with this, okay, try to, there are probably, you can probably download some, or your AB system will be able to clean those host file, the antivirus that you have installed. It will look something like this. Okay, this is your host file encrypted. Okay, it will not look the same like this because it always change. If your host file, if your calculator is infected today, you clean the system, you are infected the other day. If you compare those infection, will be different, right? Because of the Polymorphic algorithm. All you have to do is to look for this particular code. You can actually search them in your debugger. Okay, if you find them, then you will be able to actually decrypt your host file. That is the initial key. If you want to follow the code, all you have to do is to look for this one, just simple XOR. That is how it encrypts your file. Okay, and then just follow the decryption. It will just make some loop. Okay, loop going back here. It will execute until finally everything is decrypted. Your host file will look something like this now. The host file will contain, or the infected part will contain the actual file, that is the file name that was encrypted. And then this is now the start of your, where's the MZ? MZ header, that is now the start of your file or your host file. All you have to do is to cut from the MZ up to the end of the host file, and then you'll be able to extract your host file. And that's it. That is how you try to clean your system with your infected files. That is now your decryption key. Let's look at the on-demand polymorphic. Okay, the on-demand polymorphic looks similar like this. There is a code, okay, which use the decryptor to decrypt the block of code using the old key. Okay. You will try to look for the garbage code. The garbage code is wherein you don't actually need them. It is just to make your analysis even longer. The main purpose of the garbage code is to waste your time, right? All you have to do is to skip those things and then find the XOR, okay, and then you'll be able to decrypt your malware or Virlock, okay. The red ones, they are actually the garbage code. You don't need them, okay. they change too. So if you're making a signature detection for that, you won't be able to. You have to skip those things. Okay, there's the generate the key gen function which generates the EAX, which is the value or which is the key, and then there is now your starting location of the decryption. If you want to decrypt, you can follow this. You can dump it to your only debug, and then you can follow those bytes, and then it will be decrypted. That is the actual. See, it's only a simple XOR. That is the actual decryption routine, the XOR one. And this is actually your key. It checks. It is just a redundant check to make sure that you are actually in the right malware, the right code. Okay, that is now your XOR decryptor. If you go to this function, and then it will try to decrypt that particular function and execute. Okay, it uses the decryptor to do that. Okay, to generate a new key, it uses a function RDTSC, read time stamp counter. It changes every time you run. That's why I told you when you infect your calculator today, it will be different actually in the afternoon, in the evening, or the other day because it generates the key based on the timestamp counter. Okay, and then it uses the same set of codes in order to. This one generates the new key. Okay, uses the RDTSC, save it in different memory location, and then using the different XORing or the decryptor, then you'll be able to get the new key. All you have to do is to look for this code, and then you will be able to see how it generates the new key. That's the location of the bytes needed to generate the key, and then that is now your new key placed on this number, on this location. Okay, if you're going to look at the same code, this is your code with the old key, and then after generating the new key, you'll be able to find it the same set of codes. Looking at the offset, okay, you will be able to find a different set of keys. So this is 9B, 7B, this is 97A, and something. So it changes every time it creates. That's why it's called the on-demand polymorphic. What happened? What? I'm infected? Good thing I have Supergirl. Oh, we're now on the. Let's go to. Sorry for that. What happened? Did I step on something? Where are we? I just realized I have so many slides. See, I don't have yet my demo, and then it's destroying my system. Again, let's do this. Oh, they're done. Okay, so that's the new key. This is where we die. Okay, still working. Okay, the decryptor actually uses the same algorithm as the encryptor, but it just uses a different key. If you use an XOR function, okay, if you use XOR and then use the same key, XOR it with the same value, it actually encrypts and decrypts, okay, just using the same value. If you're going to look into the original set, this is the encrypted code, Okay, I just grab it. Okay, with the old key, getting the first 16 bytes, and then this is the decrypted code. Okay, the 16 bytes is here, and then after executing this decrypted code, it will actually generate the new key, encrypt this one with the new key. Look, they are in the same memory location. Okay, this is encrypted with the old key, this is encrypted with the new key, and this is your decrypted code. If you want to make a signature detection in your company or if you're doing it at home, okay, all you have to do is to look for this one first. Because even though you have a different key every time, okay, you will have the same set of decrypted code. Different keys, you won't be able to detect this one every time, okay, but you have to follow this one to be able to detect your samples. Okay, and just look at this one. Okay, if you're going to if you're going to make signature with the code, okay, do not detect this one because this contains the garbage code. Okay, all you have to do is to detect this, except this part, okay, because this one changes too. Let's go now to the metamorphic algorithm. Metamorphic is kind of different with the polymorphic. Polymorphic is it changes the code, but at the same time it encrypts. Encrypts plus changing the code, that is polymorphic in my turn. Okay. Metamorphic is it changes the code, but the code is not encrypted. That means you can still execute the code. What is metamorphic? Okay, for example, the basic for metamorphic is, for example, you want to put a value to a register, for example, value 0 to a certain register EAX, okay? You can do that in so many ways. Mov EAX 0, XOR the same register, it gives you 0. Okay, subtract the same register, again, it gives you 0. Or you can do a different combination of codes. At the end, you still get the 0. That is metamorphic. Okay, if you want to create a metamorphic algorithm, all you have to do is to generate the same or different set of working codes, but the same result. That is metamorphic. Polymorphic, encrypted plus changing of code. Metamorphic, it doesn't encrypt, okay, but it still changes the code. That the problem is it's hard to find similar bytes and there are different lengths when you create the metamorphic algorithm. Of course, unpredictable code. The problem with this one is if your antivirus engine, okay, tries to detect your sample and then it finds that they are actually encrypted, it will try to encrypt, it will try to decrypt. That means it is malicious in itself if it is encrypted. But if it is metamorphic, okay, the code still executes. Your antivirus engine will think that it is just a regular application. That is one of the difference with the metamorphic and polymorphic. There are different ways to generate the metamorphic engine. Okay, but Virlock, we're going to focus on Virlock. Okay, Virlock uses different instructions to generate the registers. Okay, it uses different number of bytes. It has a pseudo-random value generator. Okay, it generates different sets of instructions. We'll see that later. And of course, it has a different length of code. This particular part, this function, generates a pseudo-random number, and then based on that number, it actually detects, or it will tell you which register to use, EDI, ESI, or whatever, EAX, okay? And then from that code, it generates a new address register and code register. Okay, for example, the buffers temporary, it changes, it depends on your execution. Okay, it changes the location and then it generates randomly what kind of address register that you use and the code register. We'll see that later in the video demo. Okay, after generating the pseudo-random number, it depends on the value of the register EAX, EDI, a combination of EAX, EDI, and EBX. For example, this one, it generates a mob address register value. And then if it is EPAX is 1, EDI is 0, similar, but this one, it generates the code register. And then it depends on the value of, again, EAX, EDI, EDX. It will tell you if it is subtraction, addition, or whatever, okay? So that is how it generates the different combinations of bytes or different combinations of registers too, okay? So it is not fixed. That's why even the metamorphic algorithm will generate different set of codes. And this one also generates the second. These are the combinations of registers. For example, if it generates the B8, it will get the move EAX. If it generates the C3, it will get add EBX. It depends on the generated value. It will look at this is the lookup table on which kind of register it needs to do. Okay? Are you still with me? People are already sleeping. It's okay. I will just wake you up later. Okay, the last code is actually the one that generates the moving of the bytes, okay, to a different registers. Like this. Okay, let's have some video demo to wake you up. This is a cat video. Okay. Okay, this is in Oli. Oh, I can pause. Okay. So this one generates the pseudo-random value. And then based on the pseudo-random value, it will generate, again, the combination of bytes. You will see here, I just followed the virtual memory 9C00. Okay, after generating that one, you will see that it will generate a combination of, see now there is this one, call instruction. Okay, based on the number of the different combination, it generates the mob EDX and a random value, right? And then another pseudo-random value generates that particular bytes. It will keep on generating the bytes. What is the main purpose of that one? The main purpose is it is try to create a metamorphic encrypted value or a metamorphic value for the 4 bytes here. Okay? It will create a series of mob, subtraction, and addition values, addition instructions, okay, just to produce the 4 bytes here. This is the decrypted code. Okay, later, after creating those series of subtractions and additions instructions, okay, you will be able to change this to a different value. Change it it looks like an encrypted value. What happened? What's going on with this? Again. Let's do this again. RDTST, guess the random value. So it generates that big bytes of codes, or the like 7 bytes, 7 lines of instructions to generate just to focus on the 4 bytes. You will see that it will change the 4 bytes value in the original code. So that one changes by now. See, it changes that particular 4 bytes, just the 4 bytes. And now it is going to generate the move instruction wherein that value will be placed to a certain register. That one, the move D word EDX ESI. And then that 7 or 8 lines of instruction is only for the first D word. Okay, for first 4 bytes. Now, if you will see here, I just press F9 or F8. Okay, and then it generates this more than 10 instructions to try to encrypt the next 4 bytes. Okay, and then again followed by the move instruction. It will continue doing that until all the original code is already in its the encrypted form. Okay, but it now generates its new set of metamorphic algorithms. So you will see that the metamorphic algorithm is only a combination of addition, subtraction, and move instructions. It is very simple actually in terms, but if you want to make a very complicated one, you can insert garbage code, you can insert no operations wherein it will delay further analysis. Wait, I'm not the bad guy here, right? I'm just saying that it will delay the researcher's time, okay? For example, you're trying to analyze this at work, and then you only have like an hour to do the execution or to do the virus report, okay, you cannot do this. You have to use the assembly line, right, to generate the virus report. But if you want to dig deeper on the code, you want to see how it works or how to try to try to extract the file, okay, you have to go deeper, like looking into this. And then the malware is the main purpose is for you to waste your time debugging, okay? But if you really want to dig this one and then you only have an hour or two and then you didn't produce the result, you'll be fired, right? I'm not yet fired yet. I'm still working. Okay, so that is how metamorphic algorithm, or this is the engine, metamorphic engine that the malware uses in order for it to generate the metamorphic code. Later, we will see how the metamorphic, this is creating the metamorphic code. Okay, later we will run the metamorphic code to bring back the original malware. Okay, so that is how it executes the whole thing. Okay, it's almost done. Don't worry. If you're hungry, it's almost done. They said we'll be here up to 12:30, right? No? So that is how. So it different number of bytes, different number. That is how it makes it harder. The good thing with this one is later I will tell you how to simplify the the reverse engineering if you encounter, not only for Virlock, if you encounter a malware with metamorphic algorithm, it will there is a simple way to skip those things. I will tell you later if you stay. If you don't, you will not see it. So it generates that one. If you look into the malware with metamorphic algorithm, it will be like it will look something like it's hard to do, right? So that's the end. I didn't finish the whole thing. Okay. So the generated metamorphic algorithm is actually this one, the very first one. We go back to this one. This is actually the generated metamorphic algorithm is the very first set of codes being executed once you execute the malware. Okay. It changes in sizes. It is approximately 28 kilobytes long. Okay. I compare two samples, which is the same host file, okay, but different sets. So this is the encrypted metamorphic encrypted code. This is the actual malware code. Okay, the first D word is the 4 bytes. It actually decrypt that one into this one. Okay, the second D word is actually generated by this group of codes to produce this one. The third D word is actually produced using this one. So different number of bytes, different number of instructions, different length. Okay. Another example, the second sample that I use, okay, the same malware, the same host file, different encryption. Okay. I didn't change the square boxes here, okay, to show you that they have different sets of codes. Looking into this, they have different bytes here, but it generates the same malware code. Okay, third D word, and so on. Okay. Comparing the first sample, this is your second sample, which is the same host file, different encryption. Okay, comparing again the first D word for the second and first sample. Okay, mob EDI, it uses even the mob instruction is different. Second D word, different. Third D word, and so on and so forth. But if you want to create signature detection, okay, you can actually just detect the decrypted bytes. Again, they are the same. Even though they are different, it uses different number of bytes, they are still the same except for this one. Okay, that is the initial value, initial key, which is different every time. But if you want to detect this, it is always the same. The move EAX and the nope and the jump. Okay, that is if you want to make the detection. And for the another demo, showing you how the metamorphic engine works, or the metamorphic algorithm works. So this one, we are now running the generated algorithm. It is now going to change back the code. Okay. Every time it has the move instruction, this one changes. Okay. It is now returning back the malware code. That is actually the very first set of execution of the malware. It will continue again until the whole metamorphic code generates the actual malware algorithm. And then the secret is if you encounter the malware that uses metamorphic algorithm, there's always a jump out. There's always a way out. All you have to do is to put a breakpoint on that particular location, and then you will be able to skip all the time wasting debugging. Okay? All you have to do is to look for that particular part. If you encounter a code and then you're debugging it step by step, and then you figure that, oh, this is actually a metamorphic algorithm. All you have to do is to look for the jump out, put a breakpoint, F2 for Oli, and then execute, press F9. Do not press F9 first before you put the F2. Okay, it will execute your malware, right? So all you have to do is it will continue doing that. Imagine if I am actually automating this with just pressing, see, I'm pressing so 100 times, I think. I think I pressed 1 million times there. Okay, look at this. This is actually, there is actually every time you encounter a metamorphic algorithm, there is a jump, there is a call going out. Look for that, breakpoint, and then execute it. You will now be able to see the actual malware code after generating. That is now the call EDX. The EDX contains, this is that part. This is the one that is already decrypted. That is your malware code. Okay, that is the technique of decrypting the malware with metamorphic algorithm. Okay, that is look for the call or the jump out. Cool? Very cool. For conclusion, all you have to do is for reversing, all you have to do is to look for the metamorphic algorithm, end of the metamorphic algorithm, as I've said earlier, the jump and the call. Copy the decrypted code if you want to analyze it in IDA or what disassembler that you had. Detection, get the patterns from the decrypted code, not from the encrypted or the metamorphic algorithm. Okay. And for cleaning, most of the time the malware has registry keys. All you have to do is to delete those things first. You can extract the host files and of course delete all the drop files. Or a simpler thing is get your installer and overwrite the whole thing and you're dead. Right? That is for the cleaning. I think that's the only thing that's everything that I have. Any questions? Mercy. We have 10 minutes for question. No? For me? Or if you're going to if you're going to analyze the malware and then you want to to generate the virus report, for example, because that's what I usually do, I can run all the tools that I have, run the malware, and then I will be able to get all the codes. But because I prepared this for the presentation, for the talk, okay, it took me a while. It for the analysis part, you can have like a week doing because you're trying to look for the algorithm and so on and so forth. But it will take longer if you want to make some slides and everything. But even though the malware is very complicated, if you use the tools and everything to automate it, you will be able to know that it is a malware. You'll be able to know that it is malicious. But if you want to go to dig deeper, it will take you time. Probably 1 week is enough to see the code, okay, to see the metamorphic and everything. 1 week without sleeping, okay, not regular work time, okay, and then you'll be able to see the code, and then another probably a month to do some graphics for the presentation for you to be able to sleep while you're listening to me. That's mostly how it works. But if you use assembly line, send all your samples there, and then you'll be able to see your virus report. Question?
Dissect a ransomware in either pro. How do you know where the are? Sorry, I'm more of a ARM person when it comes to assembly. This is
No, you have to. Yeah, you have to. The thing is, if you have the infected malware or infected Virlock, okay, if you use IDA right away, you won't be able to see anything because it is polymorphic and metamorphic encrypted. So you have to run first it in a debugger, and then you breakpoint, you stop somewhere that you got the decrypted code, and after that you can now dump it back to IDA. But the key gen, the name, you have to put it yourself. Did I answer your question? Yeah, 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 yeah. You have to know, analyze the function, then this function actually generates the metamorphic, then you put the name so that when the next time you encounter the function, you will know that it uses. So you don't need to do it again, right? You will know what it does. Question? So the question was, what is the impact of this complicated malware from day-to-day basis? There are actually different kinds of ransomware that uses different kinds of techniques. Like for example, Virlock is using Metamorphic polymorphic engine K2 and uses file infection. Most of the ransomware that we have is they just encrypt your files, put a message, and then that's it. Okay, but this one, okay, I personally choose this one because it also infects files. Because even though you unlock your skin, you will be still be infected if you get the infected files. Okay, but there's another one like Petya. If you heard of Petya, the one with the blinking skull. Okay, that one uses some form of polymorphic algorithm, metamorphic, but it uses some crypto logic, but at the same time, it is actually infecting overwriting your MBR, the master boot record. So it overwrites your master boot record, and at the same time, it tries to lock your screen. So that particular part is actually, Petya is not actually encrypting your files. It is encrypting the table, the MSFT table of the file, and then that's it. You will not be able to use the Petya. So different malware, different ransomware, they uses different techniques. But for your second question, we can actually categorize them. For example, you'll be able to get the same group of the way they use it, and then you can tell that this particular group created the same set of malware because they just reusing their code. But some malware authors, they just actually uses other people's code and then they create their own. So usually that's what happened. Question? The WinDBG. The WinDBG is actually a very strong debugger, okay? But I prepare only an immunity debugger and x64 DBG because I'm actually already familiar with the GUI and everything. But WinDBG is very strong. If you're using WinDBG, I suggest you can stick to the WinDBG. It's probably the way we use all debuggers is by preference. You want to use this. It's like going to McDonald's. You want cheeseburger, the other one, but they're burgers, right? Just different flavors. Question? You want to eat McDonald's now, right? Thank you for your time.